class recording in your link. Actually, I did not find any recorded.
Sir, download பண்ணிட்டோம் sir அது.
Okay, then fine. So this is the problem. So what you have to find is the use first you have to find the overall heat loss coefficient of the collector so as to find the QU. So overall heat loss coefficient, as you know, we have seen in flat plate collector. What you should do is first what they have given is plate temperature and observer plate temperature and glass temperature. So you should take the average temperature between these two. Am I right? To get the properties of the get the properties of the air. So average air. Sorry. Yes.
69க்கே ஆவரேஜ் ப்ராப்பர்ட்டிஸ் எடுக்கக்கூடாதா சார்?
அது எப்படி எடுப்பீங்க?
சார் அதுதானே சார் ஆம்பியன்ட்டோட இது அப்சர்வ் பிளேட் டெம்பரேச்சருக்கு தானே சார் எடுக்கணும்.
இது நீங்க ஃபர்ஸ்ட் என்ன கண்டுபிடிக்கிறீங்கன்னா ஓவரால் ஹீட் லாஸ் கோஎஃபிஷியன்ட்ல வந்து H1 and H2 கண்டுபிடிப்பீங்க.
சார் அதுக்கு தான்
H1
சார்
வந்து is a sum of convective heat transfer between glass and plate. Okay, convective heat transfer between glass and plate and radiative heat transfer between glass and plate. So first for that to find H1, you have to find H1C, that is heat transfer coefficient of between heat transfer convective heat transfer between glass and plate. So glass and plate oda mean temperature என்ன? So 69 plus 45 by 2 எவ்வளோ வருது? 114 by 2 is 57 degrees centigrade, correct?
Yes sir, correct.
So 57 degrees centigrade la enna air properties. So air oda property thermophysical properties of air at 57 degrees centigrade will be in your data book. As everyone has the heat transfer data book beside.
Yes sir, இருக்கு சார்.
So 57 degrees centigrade, if you see that air temperature properties will be given, I guess, in the page number like between 21 to 55 or something page number. I forgot what is it. So see to it and tell the properties of the air right now. So you'll solve step by step and you can also know how to solve. So it will be helpful for you also and me also to know how you have understood the motion. So take the properties for 57 degrees centigrade for air from your data book. So what properties you have to take? So you have to find Rayleigh number. So for Rayleigh number, what properties you have to get? So for Rayleigh number, you have to get Prandtl number, then thermal diffusivity alpha, sorry, thermal diffusivity you don't want. You want kinematic viscosity, nu and Prandtl number. So that you have to take and you have to find beta. So beta is that inverse of the average temperature in Kelvin. So beta and Prandtl number and kinematic viscosity. So these three properties you have to take from the data book and also thermal conductivity of air at a particular mean temperature. So as to find heat transfer coefficient. So you have to take thermal conductivity, kinematic viscosity, Prandtl number, and beta. So beta is 1 by T, 1 by T mean in Kelvin. So 57 plus 273 is 57 plus 273 is 280. 280 plus 50 is 330. So 1 by 330. For that 1 by 330 is that is beta. Okay, so I will tell you the properties at the temperature 57 degrees centigrade. Write the properties which you have found out from the data book. So kinematic viscosity is 1.88 into 10 power minus 5 meter square per second. Prandtl number is 0.7. Thermal conductivity is 0.028 watt per meter degree centigrade. So beta is 1 by 330. So can you know how to take properties from the data book for the given problem? Is there any doubt in this? You can write. You can try to solve as I say. So I'll give you time to solve today. Have you wrote the properties from your data book?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what about others? Everyone has written the properties.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then you take what is Rayleigh number. So Rayleigh number is acceleration due to gravity g into g into beta. Beta is 1 by 330. So into del T, the difference between the temperatures. So what is the difference between 69 minus 45 is 24. So G beta del T into length cube. So distance between the glass and plate, that is the length there. So G beta into del T into L cube. So these four values you know by uh, kinematic viscosity whole square. So kinematic viscosity are taken from data book. So this whole term into PR. So Rayleigh number is GR PR. So what I the first component is GR Grasov's number. Grasov's number is 9.81 into 24 into 0.075 whole cube by 330 into 1.88 into 10 power minus 5 whole square. This is Grasov's number into PR, that is 0.7. So Rayleigh number is GR into PR. So GR formula is G gravity due to acceleration into beta, that is inverse of the mean temperature, into del T, that is difference between glass and plate temperature, that is del T into L cube. So length cube. So length is the distance between the plate and glass. So that is here given as 7.5 centimeter. So 7.5 centimeter you have to convert into meter. So 7.5 centimeter into 10 power minus 2, that is 0.075 meter cube. So by neta square. So neta square is the kinematic viscosity 1.88 into 10 power minus 5 meter square per second. So if you find this component and then multiply it by 0.7 PR Prandtl number, so then you get what is Rayleigh number. So please do the calculation as I say, so that you can it will be easy for you to yeah it will be easy for you to make the calculation of in future and also in your exam. So please tell me the Siddharth you have calculated. So besides Siddharth, whoever calculates now, please tell me Rayleigh number. I will ask Siddharth last, and so that if Siddharth answer coincides with everyone, we can move to next step.
So 5.96 into 10 to the power 5, sir.
Okay, what about others? It's a correct value. Are everyone getting the same value or different value? If anyone has getting a different value, please tell me and I will correct what you have done wrong.
5.96.
Okay. Everyone getting the same value? Okay, that's the value, that is Rayleigh number 5.96, some decimal value into 10 power 5. Okay, so for this particular value, what is the Nusselt number equation? I have narrated one day that Nusselt number equation for you. Uh, have you? Do you have that notes now? So for each Rayleigh number, the Nusselt number equation.
So
So in
formula,
that you,
sir.
yeah. So what you do in heat transfer is same thing I am doing here. So then there you calculate the Rayleigh number and substitute in the data book Nusselt number equation within that range. So the range here is given in your I have told in the notes itself. So please see that notes, so that Rayleigh number range you fix that equation and substitute the Rayleigh number and get the Nusselt number. So I guess Nusselt number equation is 1 plus 1.44 into 1 minus 1708 by 5.961. That is Rayleigh number cos 45. If that value is plus, you have to take that value. Then into 1 minus sine 1.845. So some formula is there. So please see that formula and substitute it. Here the beta angle inclined value of the collector is 45 degrees centigrade. Okay, so that you have to substitute in Nusselt number equation. So beta value is 45 degrees centigrade. So collector inclined is 45 degrees and 45 degree. the Nusselt number value is 5.595. Okay, you calculate this with the Nusselt number equation and tell me the answer. If it is correct, we'll move on to the next step.
Yes, sir, correct.
Okay.
1.9 வருது சார்.
எப்படி?
சார் நசல்ட் நம்பர் 1.964 வருது சார்.
இல்லை நீங்க ஈக்குவேஷன் நசல்ட் நம்பர் ஈக்குவேஷன் கரெக்டா போட்டீங்களா?
எஸ் சார், அந்த 3 வேல்யூ போட்டிருக்கேன் சார்.
சரி, அதுல பாசிட்டிவ் வேல்யூ அதெல்லாம் கரெக்டா போட்டிருக்கீங்களா?
அதை செக் பண்றேன் சார்.
ஸோ ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டேர்மும் தேர்ட் டேர்மும் பாசிட்டிவ் இருந்தால் தான் நீங்க எடுக்கணும்.
சார் அதுக்கு ரெண்டு கரெக்ட் சார்.
ஓகே, செக் பண்ணுங்க. நீங்க அந்த சைன்லாம் கரெக்டா போட்டிருக்கீங்களா?
ஓகே.
பாருங்க, பீட்டா வேல்யூ வந்து 45 டிகிரி. So Nusselt number equation எப்படி கண்டுபிடிக்கணும்னா, so you have to substitute that formula. So cos or Rayleigh number and beta value in that particular formula. See what is there in the equation is first term 1.44. First you have to calculate the bracket value. So 1708 by 5.961 into 10 power 5 cos 45. So this value you have to calculate separately, and the other next bracket you have to calculate separately. So what you do is first you calculate these bracket values separately, and then you have to multiply each. So if you multiply, if you do mistake in that multiplication and addition, you get some other answer. So first you have to multiply these first two brackets and then multiply it by 1.44, and then third bracket, that is square bracket, you have to calculate separately and add it with this, and next add it to 1. So this is BODMAS rule, I guess. First you have to do division, multiplication, addition and subtraction. So by that, if you get that, you get the set number is 5.595 or some closest value. So it may not be exact value I am telling. So if you get any close to value, it's fine. If you get 5.8, if you get something 5.6 or 5.4, 5.3, it's not it's exact, not only exact value. You can it can come because calculations of decimals, it may vary. So Nusselt number is 5.595. Okay, are you clear from this step? Everyone is clear up to this step?
Yes sir.
Okay, then how you will find, you got Nusselt number, how you find H1C? H1C, if you, what is the formula for Nusselt number is HL by K. So from that you know Nusselt number, then you know length, then you know K. From that equation you can find H1C. So H1C will be Nusselt number into length by, sorry, Nusselt number into thermal conductivity by length. So Nusselt number is 5.595 into K. K is you got from that data book value 0.028 by length. The length is the distance between the plate and glass. So 0.075. So if you divide this each component, you will get what is H1C. So calculate this values as I said for H1C. So H1C value will be around approximately 2.08 watt per meter square degree centigrade. So these Rayleigh number and Nusselt number, Prandtl number will is a non-dimensional number. So it does not have any dimension, but heat transfer coefficient, it has a unit. So please don't forget that if you write the dimensional value, you should write the dimensions correctly, or else if you write only number, it may not be correct. So for heat transfer coefficient, you have to write with the dimensions, units. So 2.08 watt per meter square degree centigrade, 2.089. So you have found out H1C. So in H1 you have find out H1C. So for finding H1R, what you have to do is H1R is radiative heat transfer coefficient. So radiative heat transfer coefficient is the formula will be emissivity, effectiveness of emissivity into sigma, that is Stefan Boltzmann constant into temperature difference. Temperature into the temperature will be in the numerator part will be power 4. So 69 plus 273, that is in Kelvin, whole power 4 minus 45 plus 273 whole power 4 by 69 minus 45. So this is H1R. So emissivity effectiveness, how you will find? You find with emissivity effectiveness of glass and plate. So you have both emissivity of glass and emissivity of plate. So effective emissivity will be 1 by emissivity of glass plus 1 by emissivity of plate minus 1, and the whole term inverse minus 1. So 1 by 0.88 plus 1 by 0.95 minus 1, and the whole inverse. So effective emissivity will be, what will be the effective emissivity? 0.841.
So 8,
Yeah.
0.84
Correct. Correct. 0.84 now. So you have found out effective emissivity, that is epsilon effectiveness. So if you substitute that value in H1R, you will find the radiative heat transfer from plate to glass. So as I said, radiative heat transfer coefficient from plate to cover is, that is effective epsilon effect, that is 0.841 into sigma, Stefan Boltzmann constant, 5.67 into 10 power minus 8. So into the temperature difference. So temperature is 69 and 45. So temperature difference in power 4. So when you calculate in power 4, you have to transform into Kelvin. So 69 plus 273 power 4 minus 45 plus 273 power 4, and the whole term divided by the temperature difference in Kelvin or degree centigrade. Whatever you do difference, it will be the same. 69 minus 45, you get the heat transfer, radiative heat transfer from the plate to cover. So please calculate the radiative heat transfer coefficient from plate to glass cover and tell me the answer when you calculate. Have you calculated radiative heat transfer coefficient between plate to cover?
Sir, 6.77.
Yeah, 6.7 something, approximately to 6.85. Okay. Then you have calculated H1C and H1R now. Have everybody calculated H1C and H1R?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then add this value H1C and H1R, it will be H1.
8.9.
Yeah, 8.9. So for calculating H2, that is from glass to ambient, you have to calculate H2C. So H2C, what is the formula? Heat transfer coefficient between glass and cover. Sorry, heat transfer coefficient between glass cover and ambient. Convective heat transfer coefficient between glass cover and ambient. What is the formula? H2C. What is the formula for heat transfer coefficient between glass cover and convective heat transfer coefficient between glass cover and ambient? H2C is 2.8 plus 3 into wind velocity. The wind velocity you take here is, I have not given in the problem, so you take wind velocity as 5 meter per second. So convective heat transfer coefficient between glass and ambient. That is the formula for the tone is 2.8 plus 3 into wind velocity. Wind velocity will be here 5 meter per second. So what will be the answer for H2C?
17.8.
Okay, 17.8 watt per meter square degree centigrade. Okay, then
நம்ம
H,
HC அஸ்யூம் பண்ணிக்கலாம் சார்.
sorry,
Wind
Sir,
velocity
HC
5 எடுக்கிறோம் சார்.
யாராவது ஒருத்தர் சொல்லுங்க.
Wind velocity 5 நீ எடுக்கிறோம் சார்.
5 meter per second is the experimental value. When you do it in experiment, you take the wind velocity from anemometer. They have taken the 5 meter per second average wind velocity. So in each experiment it may vary. When you go for experimentation, you carry an anemometer, and if you take the wind velocity in the atmosphere, you may get around in your terrace you may get around 2 to 3 meter per second. But they have given in this problem that is 5 meter per second.
Okay sir, but given data இல்ல அப்ப நம்மளா
Given data I have not given. So you have that given data is there, but I have not given. If it is not given also, you can assume around 3 to 4. That is with respect to location.
Okay sir.
Okay, Siddharth, what is your doubt?
10 HC வந்து 10 அஸ்யூம் பண்ணக்கூடாது.
ஏன் 10 எப்படி சொல்றீங்க அஸ்யூம் பண்ணலாம்?
சார் இல்லை சார், விண்ட் வெலாசிட்டி 5 மாதிரி ஹெச்சிங்கிறது இப்போ கன்வெக்டிவ் ஹீட் ட்ரான்ஸ்ஃபர் வந்து
இல்ல
10.
விண்ட் வெலாசிட்டின்றது வந்து அசியூம் பண்ணல. ஆக்சுவலா விண்ட் வெலாசிட்டின்றது ஒரு அந்த எக்ஸ்பெரிமெண்ட் பண்ணும்போது என்ன விண்ட் வெலாசிட்டி கொடுத்துருப்பாங்க. ஸோ ஐ ஹவ் நாட் டோல்ட் யூ. ஸோ விண்ட் வெலாசிட்டி மே டிஃபர் ஃபார் each experiment and with respect to the geographical location and where you are doing the experiment. So it is better to go with wind velocity given in the stated problem or where you are doing experiment. So then H2C is 17.8 watt per meter square degree centigrade. Okay. Then you H2C have found out. For H2R, what you do is the same procedure for H1R. So here the effective emissivity will not come, but in that place what will come, emissivity of glass, obviously. So glass only, from glass to ambient only you are taking the value. So for radiative heat transfer coefficient between glass and ambient, so in that the effectiveness emissivity of glass will come. So the same formula which is given for H1R, but in H2R what the temperatures will vary. So there you have taken plate and glass. Here glass and ambient. Okay, glass and ambient. What you have to do is in first temperature, in first value, that is 45 will be there for glass temperature, and for ambient you have to minus it with 6. So T sky temperature you have to take. So T sky temperature will be TA minus 6. So that is the formula given. So T sky you have to take here. So for in the numerator only. So what will be the formula? Then effective emissivity of glass into sigma, that is Stefan Boltzmann constant, into temperature difference. So temperature you have to take here is glass temperature, that is 45 degrees centigrade plus 273 whole power 4 minus T sky temperature power 4. T sky temperature will be what is ambient temperature minus 6. So 20 minus 6 will be 14 plus 273 whole power 4, that is numerator, by the difference in temperature 45 minus 20 Tg minus Ta. So in numerator only you have to use sky temperature, in denominator you have to substitute ambient temperature. So H2R, the formula is emissivity of glass into Stefan Boltzmann constant into Tg plus 273 whole power 4 minus T sky plus 273 whole power 4. T sky will be ambient temperature minus 6 by Tg minus Ta. So calculate this value and get me the answer. The radiative heat transfer coefficient between glass and ambient will be around 6.8 something, 6.8 watt per meter square degree centigrade, or meter square degree centigrade. Are you getting that answer?
Yes, sir.
So everybody is getting that answer. So why you have to calculate H2 here. So what is H2? H2C plus H2R. So H2C is 17.8 plus 6.86. So you get some around 24 to 25, 24.6 watt per meter square degree centigrade. So H2 you have found out, H1 you have found out. So then overall heat transfer coefficient will be overall top loss coefficient. So overall top loss coefficient is 1 by H1 plus 1 by H2 in whole inverse. So overall top loss coefficient will be 6.57 watt per meter square degree centigrade. So you find H1C, H2C and add it, you get H1, and you find H2C and H2R, you get H2. From that you get overall top loss coefficient, that is 1 by H1 plus 1 by H2 whole inverse. So you calculate and tell me the overall top loss coefficient. I told you 6.57, whether you are getting the same answer, 6.57 watt per meter square degree centigrade. So overall top loss coefficient, are you getting the same answer? 6.57. Has everyone solved up to overall top loss coefficient?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So overall top loss coefficient has everyone solved 6.57 or 6.567. Some answer 6.5. So watt per meter square degree centigrade. So you in the question they have given the thickness of the bottom also. So thickness of bottom and insulation value, conductivity of insulation value, thermal conductivity of insulation. So what you do is overall bottom loss coefficient. If you take is what is the formula is thermal conductivity of insulation by length of the insulation. So if you divide it thermal conductivity by length of the insulation, you get some 0.66 watt per meter square degree centigrade. So if you had overall top loss coefficient and bottom loss coefficient, you get overall heat loss coefficient of the flat plate collector system. So please do the calculation and tell me the overall heat loss coefficient. Have you solved overall heat loss coefficient?
Sir, 7.33.
Yeah, something 7.23 or 7.33. Has everyone got the answer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we have got up to this is the part of the problem. So if you find the UL, then it is easy to find Q useful, that is useful heat gain by the collector and the instantaneous collector efficiency and the overall efficiency of the collector and the volume of the heat transfer fluid. So next step is if you find UL and if you find useful heat gained by the collector. So useful heat gained by the collector, you know the formula I have told you. Useful heat gained by the collector will be QU equal to area of the collector by into Q absorbed minus overall heat loss coefficient into temperature of the plate minus temperature of ambient. So this is the overall heat absorbed by the collector. So Q absorbed will be transmitted into absorptivity into solar radiation. So you can find useful energy collected by the collector per unit time. So that is area of the collector into Q absorbed. That is Q absorbed is transmittivity into alpha into solar radiation minus UL into TP minus TA. UL you got already. TP is the temperature of the plate minus ambient temperature. So you can calculate the useful heat gained by the collector per unit time. So here useful heat gain with respect to per unit time. So what you are getting QU will be watt per watt, that is watt. So watt is joule per second. So here area of the collector is 1 meter square. So one tau naught will be the given value is 0.95, alpha will be 0.85, and solar radiation over the time, that is average solar radiation will be 700. So minus UL. UL is 7.23 or 7.33 into plate temperature minus ambient temperature. Plate temperature is 69 degrees centigrade and ambient temperature will be 20 degrees centigrade. So if you calculate this equation, you can get a useful energy gained by the collector per unit time. So please calculate with this formula.
So 210 watts. Sir.
Yeah, 210 something. Everybody is getting the same answer. Everyone getting the same answer for useful heat gain by the collector. Everyone finished up to that QU. Everyone calculated up to QU. Is there have any doubt? You can ask me. If you have any difficulty to calculate, Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
So everyone finished up to QU.
Sir.
Yes, sir. QU contents.
Okay, next you go for instantaneous efficiency. Instantaneous efficiency is what you have calculated is QU. So QU by area of collector into radiation, solar radiation.
So QU by I, yes, sir.
AC by AC into I.
So 30%.
Yeah, you get instantaneous efficiency 30%. So for calculating overall efficiency, so overall efficiency will be the overall efficiency. How you will calculate is the overall heat, that is QU for a particular time by area of the collector by into the overall radiation for the particular, that is 6 hours operation. You what is the radiation and what is the QU. So in our data you have only, you are getting only the instantaneous efficiency. If you want to calculate overall efficiency, then you have to be there with a particular radiation or average QU. So here it is a particular instantaneous efficiency. So for calculating overall efficiency, if for 6 hours you have got the same 210 QU, so if you multiply by 210 into 6, and the by area of the collector is 1, and the overall radiation, if you do it for 700 watt per meter square, then you get overall collection efficiency. So it will be lesser only because for the same radiation and useful heat will be larger than. So overall collection efficiency will be very less. So this may not be the term for the real collector system. Overall efficiency will come around something 20%. So here we are assuming the radiation value very less. So in general, if you see the overall radiation will be around 850 to 900 in our location. So overall collection efficiency is that equal to that useful heat gain with a certain period, that is from, if you take reading from 9 a.m. to 5, that is around 6 to 7 hours, that is then by area of the collector into overall radiation, that is average radiation in a day. So that is overall collection efficiency of the collector. Did you understand up to this point, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Everybody has understood this up to this. So this overall collection efficiency you have calculated up to this, and then what is the volume of the heat transfer fluid? So the heat gained by the collector will be transformed to the storage tank. So the heat collected is equal to the heat stored in, as we assume, QU equal to heat stored. So how you will calculate the amount of heat stored in the storage tank? So you take MCP delta T in the storage tank. So M, we can take it as density into volume into specific heat of water. The heat of the fluid is water. So specific heat of water into temperature difference between, what is the temperature difference we have to take? That is fluid. What is the difference here? Because sensible heat storage, so the fluid temperature, what you have to take?
The inlet and outlet.
Inlet and outlet. Inlet and outlet, I have given only temperature of the storage tank, fluid temperature in the storage tank. So what is the temperature differences? So I have given is boiling point, that is fluid temperature, storage tank temperature. So it may, in a flat plate collector system, the fluid temperature may go around up to 60 to 70 degrees centigrade. So the temperature drop may be from 60 degrees centigrade. So that delta you can take as 60 degrees centigrade and not 50. Okay. So if you have Q useful, that is 210 equal to rho V, that is density into volume. Volume you have to find. Then specific heat of water will be, what is the specific heat of water?
So 4000.
4187 joule per kg Kelvin, correct?
Sir.
Then you have the temperature difference, that is 60 degrees centigrade. That is temperature drop in the storage tank. That is 60 degrees centigrade. So if you equate these values and get the volume, calculate this equation and get the volume from the equation.
Sir, temperature வந்து எப்படி சார் நம்ம 16 எடுக்க முடியும்? சார் 15 அதுக்கு ஒரு ஃப்ளோ ரேட் இருக்கும்ல சார், கொஞ்சம் டெம்பரேச்சர் மாற மாற ஃப்ளோ ரேட் ஜாஸ்தி ஆகும்ல சார்?
இல்ல, நீங்க வந்து ஸ்டோரேஜ் டேங்க்ல நீங்க வந்து ஸ்டோர் பண்றீங்க வாட்டர் ஸ்டோர் பண்ணிட்டு நீங்க ஹீட் கலெக்ட் பண்ணி ஸ்டோர் பண்ணிட்டே இருக்கீங்க. ஸோ ஒரு கட்டத்துல வந்து நீங்க வந்து ஹீட் அதுக்கு மேல ஸ்டோர் பண்ண முடியாது அந்த வாட்டர்ல. ஸோ உங்களோட டெம்பரேச்சரும் கலெக்டர்ல இருக்க வர டெம்பரேச்சர், ஃப்ளூயிட் டெம்பரேச்சரும் வாட்டரோட டெம்பரேச்சரும் ஒரு செகண்ட்ல வந்து சேம் ஆயிரும். So after that you cannot add temperature, right?
சார் அது ஓகே சார், ஆனா எஃப்பி ஃபிளாட் பிளேட் குள்ள போறதே உள்ள அந்த டெம்பரேச்சர் தான் சார் கன்சிடர் பண்ண முடியும்.
நான் வந்து வால்யூம் ஆஃப் த ஸ்டோரேஜ் டேங்க் தான் கேக்குறேன் நான். இந்த வால்யூம் ஆஃப் த ஸ்டோரேஜ் டேங்க்னு பாத்தீங்கன்னா ஸ்டோரேஜ் டேங்க்ல இருக்க வந்து டெம்பரேச்சர் தான் நான் பார்க்கணும்.
ஓகே சார், ஆனா டெம்பரேச்சர் 100 டிகிரி வரைக்கும் போலாம்ல சார்?
100 டிகிரி வரைக்கும் போலாம். உங்களுக்கு வந்து கலெக்டருக்கு உள்ள டெம்பரேச்சர் வந்து உள்ள போற ஃப்ளூயிட் இருக்குல்ல, கலெக்டர் உள்ள போற ஃப்ளூயிட், ஸோ அந்த ஃப்ளூயிடோட டெம்பரேச்சரும் டேங்க்ல இருக்க டெம்பரேச்சரும் ஒன்னாயிடுச்சுன்னா அதுக்கு மேல டெம்பரேச்சர் இன்க்ரீஸ் ஆகிறதுக்கு சான்ஸ் இல்லை. வாட்டர் வந்து 100 டிகிரி சென்டிகிரேட் வரைக்கும் போகும். கலெக்டரோட டெம்பரேச்சர் ஃப்ளூயிட் டெம்பரேச்சர் நீங்க வந்து இன்லெட்ல 35 டிகிரி சென்டிகிரேட் கொடுக்குறீங்க. அது வந்து ஒரு டே ஃபுல்லா ஹீட் கலெக்ட் ஆகி 70 டிகிரி வருதுன்னா அந்த 70 டிகிரி அதுக்கப்புறம் வந்து 70 டிகிரி வாட்டர்ல இருக்க அந்த ஃப்ளூயிடுக்கும் இந்த ஹீட் ட்ரான்ஸ்ஃபர் ஃப்ளூயிடுக்கும் இந்த ஸ்டோரேஜ் டேங்க்ல இருக்க ஃப்ளூயிடுக்கும் டெம்பரேச்சர் ட்ரான்ஸ்ஃபர் ஆகணும் இல்லையா? அந்த டெம்பரேச்சரை வந்து கரெக்டா அவ்வளவுதான் வரும். ஸோ அதுக்கு மேல போகாது, 100க்கு மேல போகாது. நீங்க சர்க்கியூட் போட்டு பாருங்க. அந்த வாட்டர் வந்து சர்க்குலேட் ஆகுது இல்லையா கலெக்டர்லயா? கலெக்டர்ல வந்து ஒரு டெம்பரேச்சர் ரைஸ் ஆகுது. ஃபுல்லா டெம்பரேச்சர் ரைஸ் ஆனதுக்கப்புறம் 60 டிகிரி சென்டிகிரேட்க்கு அப்புறம் போக முடியலன்னா கலெக்டர் உள்ள வாட்டர். ஸோ ஸ்டோரேஜ் டேங்க்ல இருக்க வாட்டர் அந்த டெம்பரேச்சருக்குள்ள தான் இருக்கும். சரிங்களா? அதுக்கு மேல டெம்பரேச்சர் உங்களால இன்க்ரீஸ் பண்ண முடியாது. சோர்ஸே இல்லைன்னா எப்படி டெம்பரேச்சர் இன்க்ரீஸ் பண்ணுவீங்க?
எஃபிசினால இப்போ 60 வரைக்கும் தான் போக முடியும்னு சொல்றீங்க சார்?
இல்ல, நான் அப்படி சொல்ல. நான் வந்து 1 மீட்டர் ஸ்கொயர்ல வந்து எனக்கு வந்து எஃபிசி வந்து இவ்வளவுதான் போகும், 65 வரைக்கும் போகும்னா நான் வந்து அதை எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணி பார்த்தா தான் தெரியும். ஸோ 1 மீட்டர் ஸ்கொயர்ல 65 டிகிரி சென்டிகிரேட் வரைக்கும் வாட்டர்ல வச்சு போகலாம். ஏன்னா வந்து நல்ல எஃபிஷியன்ட் சிஸ்டம், ஃபிளாட் பிளேட் கலெக்டர் சிஸ்டம் வாட்டர் நீங்க வச்சு யூஸ் பண்ணீங்கன்னா எந்த ஃப்ளோ ரேட்டுன்னு இருக்கு. ஸோ நீங்க சொன்ன மாதிரி ஃப்ளோ ரேட்டை நீங்க வந்து கரெக்டா நாமினலா ஆப்டிமமா கொண்டு போனீங்கன்னா ஒரு 75 வரைக்கும் கொண்டு போகலாம் ஃபிளாட் பிளேட் கலெக்டர். அதுக்கு மேல வந்து வராது. நீங்க மேபி ஏரியா ஆஃப் த கலெக்டர் இன்க்ரீஸ் பண்ணீங்கன்னா உங்களுக்கு டெம்பரேச்சர் இன்க்ரீஸ் ஆகும். ஸோ இந்த வால்யூம் ஆஃப் ஹெச்டிஎஃப் வந்து அந்த டெல்டி வந்து டெம்பரேச்சர் ட்ராப் வந்து மேபி அரௌண்ட் 60 வச்சுட்டீங்கன்னா எவ்வளோ இருக்குன்னு பாருங்க.
சார் 0.83 மீட்டர் கியூபா சார்?
ஆமா, இது வந்து ரொம்ப அந்த வேல்யூ வந்து ரொம்ப கம்மியா இருக்கு. எவ்வளவு சொன்னீங்க?
0.83.
0.83 வருதா? சரி, இன்டூ 1000 போட்டீங்கன்னா 8.3 எவ்வளவு லிட்டர்ஸ் வருது?
8,350.
830 லிட்டர்ஸ் வருதுப்பா. ஸோ அந்த வால்யூம் ஆஃப் ஹெச்டிஎஃப் ரிக்வயர்டு வந்து கொஞ்சம் அந்த டெம்பரேச்சர் டிஃப்ரென்ஸ் கரெக்டாக தெரிஞ்சாதான் அந்த வால்யூம் வரும்னு நினைக்கிறேன். ஸோ இதுதான் வந்து டெம்பரேச்சர் ட்ராப்பு. ஒன்று கரெக்டான டெம்பரேச்சர் ட்ராப்பு, அப்புறம் வந்து கியூ யூஸ்ஃபுல். ஸோ இது ரெண்டு தெரிஞ்சிச்சுன்னா நீங்கள் வந்து வால்யூம் கண்டுபிடிச்சிடலாம். ஸோ இங்கே வந்து கொஞ்சம் டேட்டா வந்து ராங்காக இருக்கு. ஸோ 830 லிட்டர்ஸ் ஆர் 8300 லிட்டர்ஸ் வந்து ரொம்ப அதிகம். சரிங்களா? மேக்ஸிமம் வாட்டர் டெம்பரேச்சர் ஸ்டோரேஜ் டேங்க் வால்யூம் வந்து 100 லிட்டர்ஸ் தான் போவாங்க. ஓகேங்களா?
ஓகே சார்.
மேபி அப்படி கொஸ்டின் வந்துச்சுன்னா வாட் எவர் யூ கெட் அஸ் லிட்டர்ஸ் யூ ரைட் இட். அவ்வளவுதான். இது வந்து வெறும் நம்ம வந்து எக்ஸ்பெரிமெண்ட் பண்ணி பார்க்க போறது இல்லை. திஸ் இஸ் ஜஸ்ட் மீடியம் ஹவு டு கால்குலேட் த வால்யூம் ஆஃப் ஸ்டோரேஜ் டேங்க். ஓகே, ஸோ எல்லாருக்கும் புரிஞ்சுதா? இல்லை இதுல இந்த ப்ராப்ளத்துல ஏதாவது டவுட்ஸ் இருந்தா கேளுங்க. ஏன்னா நெக்ஸ்ட் செகண்ட் யூனிட் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணும். சித்தார்த் மட்டும் தான் பேசிக்கிட்டே இருக்காரு, வேற யாருமே பேச மாட்டேங்கிறாங்க. ஓகே okay, then we will move on to solar water heating systems. I will share the PPT and we'll move on. Okay, everybody, this PPT is visible. Everybody. PPT is visible. Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
your next unit is for you is solar water heating systems. So solar water heating systems is generally used for domestic hot water purpose or for space heating purpose. So solar heating, water heating systems may be comprised of thermosiphon solar water heater and forced convection solar heater. So thermosiphon solar water heater is already is without using any external pump. That is, the pumps which are available in this diagram will not be there. So only with the help of density difference. So that is thermosiphon solar water heater, where there will be a storage tank here, and it is fully filled on the collector lines, and water tank will be fully filled of water. So it will be the water temperature will be available at ambient temperature or plus 2 degrees centigrade. So it will be filled with the water. So when our solar radiation falls on it, what will happen? It will take some amount of heat, and what happens? The heated water will climb up the collector and reach the water storage tank, and this tank temperature, this outlet temperature of the particular water or fluid will come to the storage tank and lose its temperature, and again its temperature will come down, and the temperature of the water, when it get lesser, the density will be higher and it will go down. Again it moves to the water collector, sorry, flat plate collector, or any collector used for heating system, and it will get heated and again go up. So
ஸ்லைடு டயக்ராம் தெரியல சார், ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஸ்லைட்லயே இருக்கு.
ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஸ்லைட்ல இருக்கா? இப்போ
Yes, sir.
தெரியுதா? இப்போ தெரியுதா?
இல்ல சார், அந்த ஸ்லைட் பிரசன்டேஷன் இல்ல சார், நார்மல்.
இப்போ தெரியுதா?
எஸ் சார், மூவ் ஆயிடுச்சு செகண்ட்ஸ்.
இப்போ தெரியுதா ஃபுல் வியூல?
ஃபுல் வியூ வரல சார், அந்த பழைய வியூ தான் இருக்கு சார்.
இப்போ தெரியுதா?
எஸ் சார்.
Okay. So first thermosiphon solar collector, what will be there is here there will be a storage tank, and here there will be no pump, and it is filled with heat transfer fluid. And what will happen when sun radiation falls on the collector? There will be water at lower temperature, and it gets heated. and its density will be less, so that it climbs up the collector and reaches the storage tank. So in the storage tank, there will be less temperature than the water temperature available at the outlet. So it will lose its temperature to the water, and then again it goes down. When it temperature gets less, the density will be less and it will go down. So density will be high and it goes down. So this cycle will be processed in the thermosiphon solar water heater. So what will next is what will happen in forced collector, forced system. So forced system, the same technique will be with the pump. So this storage tank will have the water, and this will be pumped through means of pump, so that the water will be allowed to flow in the collector and get solar radiation and get heated and again flow through the tank. So here it may be direct storage system, that is here there is given as a heat exchanger here. So this is a heat exchanger. So the fluid which is going through the collector and the fluid circulating inside the storage tank will be different here in this type of water heating systems. So for that reason, they are using heat exchanger, because this fluid may be some fluid other than water, that is glycol mixture or some air, so that it may not come in contact with the water that is used in the load side. So this is post convection solar water heater. So next is what is heat transfer fluids here. So heat transfer fluids, as you said, we have seen the heat transfer fluid before this chapter, in last chapter in last class. So there will be a heat transfer fluid. So generally water is a heat transfer fluid that is used in a water heating system. So because it is easily available, and it is an ideal heat transfer fluid for a flat plate collector. So it may be non-flammable, non-toxic, non-corrosive, particularly in plastics and metals. So it has high heat transfer properties, high density, high specific heat, and a reasonable high boiling temperature. So it has also low viscosity. For a good quality of water, no heat exchanger is required. So we have seen in last diagram a heat exchanger was used. So for a that comprises to the quality of the heat transfer fluid also, not up to the use of load also. So however, where the problem arises when it's freezing point. So when water freezes, what will happen? The lines in the collector will be halted, so it will become ice, so the pumping of water will be difficult. So therefore a heat exchanger is required for a harsh climatic condition, that is cold climatic condition, where ambient temperature goes below 0 degrees centigrade. So for even good quality of water, whether the heat exchanger is used where the harsh climatic cold conditions are prevails. So there is a table that is given for various heat transfer fluid that are used in solar water heating system. For each fluid, there are given as its temperature, density, viscosity, specific heat, thermal conductivity. So, so when why they are going for alternative fluids other than water is a low freezing point. So the freezing point of the water can be lowered below 0 degree by adding some inorganic salts without affecting more of the properties. So for increasing the lowering down the freezing point of the water, some inorganic solids used for lowering the freezing point of the water without affecting the thermophysical properties of water. So except water, air, uh, air and the rest is with except water and air, the rest is expensive. So out of this heat transfer fluid, except air and water, it is expensive. So ethylene and propylene glycol are good choices and indeed are in general use. A 50% by weight mixture approaches water in most properties. These are only used in collector loop. So ethylene mixtures and propylene glycol mixtures are used with a percentage of 50% of ethylene and 50% of water. So this heat transfer fluid only used in collector loop and not in the side of storage tank. So air of course do not have a freezing problem, but the penalty is the system performance is poor due to low heat transfer properties. So these are the heat transfer fluid that was used for water heating system, and how to choose the heat transfer fluid in particular heat transfer system, water heating system. So next is you see we have seen the collector system and what are the heat transfer fluids that is used and how to choose the heat transfer fluid for a particular system with respect to the ambient conditions where the setup is placed. So next is the heat exchanger. So heat exchanger is a very important parameter in water heating system. See why we are going for heat exchanger in water heating system. Maybe two reasons. Whether the atmospheric conditions may be cold or the incoming heat transfer fluid water that has the water properties may be thermophysical properties may be high, but the available water should be the pH value or the level of concentration of salt will be less in the available water. If you have more amount of salt in water, what happens? Tubes which are flowing where water is flowing will be scaled, so that what will happen? It will increase the pumping pressure. So pumping power will be required will be high. So for that purpose, heat exchanger is used. So for that, you have to see the analysis of an heat exchanger. So how you get analyzed the heat exchanger, you would have seen in your heat transfer and heat and mass transfer. So there are many kinds of heat exchanger, but here we are going to see is liquid to liquid heat exchanger. However, concentrated tube within tank heat exchanger are used in solar water heating. So, what are the advantages of concentrated heat exchanger, liquid to liquid heat exchanger? Is cost effective, inexpensive, and easy to maintain. So, the performance of the heat exchanger is mainly dependent on its effectiveness concept. So, counter current heat exchanger is used in this process. For simplification, you have seen a block diagram where there is a counter current that is counter flow heat exchanger, where from one side water is flowing, that is outlet from the load, that is inlet of the load to the outlet of the load. So this one is inlet. TSI is inlet and TSO. This is the inlet heated water, and this is the outlet heated water. This is the load inlet water where low temperature comes in and gets heated up and goes out. So this is the hot water which is inlet here and gets outlet. So it loses its temperature to this water, where this temperature water gains the temperature from this stream and goes out here. So outlet of the collector becomes the inlet of small stream. So the outlet of the collector is the inlet of the small. See, this is the inlet of the small. Here they have given a smaller stream. So this is the outlet of the collector, that is heated water which comes here and goes inside this tube. This is the concentric part. This is the tube in tube heat exchanger, where this is the inner part of the tube where heated water comes here, and the load water which requires the water temperature which comes here, inlet of the load, and the heat exchanges between these two fluids. So this is called as large stream, and this is called as the lower stream, small stream. So in case that is denoted here, temperature of the smaller stream inlet here, and the temperature of larger stream inlet here. Same wise, temperature of the smaller stream here outlet and temperature of a larger stream outlet here. So this is the denotation given here. So here you can see the block diagram of the counterflow heat exchanger, where a smaller stream comes here and loses its heat, and this larger stream gains the heat and goes out. So here the temperature will be less, and here the temperature also will be less with respect to the respective inlet temperatures. So what is m dot f? So m dot f is a mass flow rate of hot fluid in kg per second available from the collector, and cf is a specific heat of the fluid. As you are aware, m dot f is mass flow rate of hot fluid in kg per second, and cf is specific heat of fluid in joule per kg Kelvin. So the next is actual heat exchange. So actual heat exchange between the hot fluid of the small stream and water of the large stream can be expressed as this equation. So Q dot equal to this one is effectiveness of the heat exchanger. M dot F is already I have told, that is mass flow rate of the water, and the CF is specific heat of the water, and this is TSI. TSI is hot water inlet, that is from collector outlet to the storage tank inlet, and this is load inlet, that is the water which is to be heated, which comes from the heat exchanger inlet to water. So this is TLI. So this is the heat exchange, and in order to express the heat transfer rate, this Q dot and this term is divided by area. So if you divide by area of the heat exchanger, you get small q dot equal to epsilon m dot f into cf by t into tsi minus tli. Q dot equal to small q dot equal to capital Q dot by a area of the collector. So small m dot f equal to capital M dot f by area of the collector. So this is in order to express the heat transfer rates and fluid rates of unit collector area. So we are dividing area of the collector by this equation. This equation by area of the collector. In order to express heat transfer rate with respect to area of the collector, this equation actual heat exchange by area of the collector is divided. So the hot water available at TSI will cool down to TSO during its flow in a heat exchanger, while cold water available at TLI from storage tank will be heated up to TLO. So when we refer to this equation, TSO, hot water at a TSI, will cool down up to TSO during its flow in the heat exchanger, while a cold water will come at a lower temperature and gain the heat from the this hot heat fluid and heat water and hot water, and it will gain the temperature at a TLO during its flow, and the direction will be opposite. That's why we call it as counterflow heat exchanger. If we assume that there is no heat loss from the small stream, then the heat gained by the small stream to large stream and both will be equal and can be expressed. So if you assume no heat loss, the whole heat lost by the small, that is hot water, to the cold water, if there is no heat lost, then it will be, then the equation can be written as heat lost by the small stream is Q dot equal to m dot f cf tsi minus tso. Heat gained by the large stream equal to Q dot equal to m dot w cw tlo minus tli. When you consider when there is no heat loss, then if you equate this equation, we get the effectiveness of heat exchanger. Effectiveness equal to tsi minus tso by tsi minus tli. So this is the effectiveness of heat exchanger when you consider there is no heat loss. So next is flow capacity ratio. So flow capacity ratio is defined as the ratio of the temperature difference required for proper performance of the temperature changing across the two stream. So this can be obtained by equating these two terms so that you can get the flow capacity ratio. So this is a flow capacity ratio. So next is effectiveness of heat exchanger. So effectiveness of heat exchanger in terms of heat transfer properties of the heat exchanger and flow capacity rates can be expressed as follows. That effectiveness is with respect to assuming there is no heat loss, but in real time there will be some heat loss. So with respect to heat exchanger properties and flow capacity rates, the effectiveness of heat exchanger is given by this equation 5.8. So 1 minus exponential minus b by 1 minus m dot cf by m dot w cw exponential minus b, where b is uxax. This ux is overall heat transfer coefficient of the heat exchanger. Ax is area of the heat exchanger. Ax is area of the heat exchanger by area of the collector. So small ax is the area of the heat exchanger by area of the collector. Ux is overall heat transfer coefficient of the heat exchanger by 1 minus m dot cf, where m dot f is mass flow rate of the fluid by area of the collector. So small m dot f is equal to capital M dot f by AC minus 1 by m dot w cw equal to, this can be written as NTU into 1 minus m dot CF capital CF by m dot W CW. So NTU is UXAX by m dot CF equal to UXAX by capital M dot F by small capital CF. So where AX is the area of the heat exchanger by area of collector. Small m dot F is equal to capital M dot F by AC. This is mass flow rate. Sorry, this is a mass flow rate of the fluid by area of the collector. M dot F is flow velocity. That is mass velocity. So these are the equations. So when there is two cases, when the heat transfer fluid this heat capacity is equal to this heat hot fluid and cold fluid, then the effectiveness will change according to that. There are two cases. There are two streams in flowing in the counterflow heat exchanger. When the heat capacity of the hot fluid is equal to heat capacity of cold fluid, the effectiveness will be seen as written like this. So because B equal to 0, so NTU equal to UXAX by M dot C, and effectiveness will be N2U by 1 plus NTU. So for case 2 is when hot fluid is greater than heat capacity of the hot fluid is greater than heat capacity of cold fluid, then the effectiveness will be termed like this and N2U will be termed like this. So these are the basics of heat exchanger. Why I am taking this heat exchanger is we are going to see some problems on heat exchanger with respect to flat plate collector. So we will see one by one what are the heat exchangers which is available and what are the factors which are available in heat exchanger, and also type of storage tank in this one, and the effect of load in the storage tank. So for next class, we will see that variations in flat plate collector system and the problems associated with it. So I guess who's absent today? Jay Ganesh, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So Jay Ganesh, what happened to him? Is he okay?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, well.
Ready? Sir.
உங்க வாய்ஸ் பிரேக் ஆகி கேக்குது.
சார் ஹெல்த் ரெக்கவர் ஆயிடுச்சுன்னு தான் சொன்னாரு சார்.
ஓகே ஓகே ஓகே